All right, guys. Well, here we are. I just did this video, which is, I got like 30 minutes into it, and I was not happy with the material that I was putting out. It was not up to what I think is decent quality. My thoughts were all over the place. I already know people would have been like, wow, you haven't been posting for a long ass time, and this is what you're bringing to the table. You are a punk. I've learned a lot of lessons over the last week, especially, to separate my personal life from my professional life. And maybe a lot of that is just that I do too much in the monologue. So I'm going to return to the stories. Just going to try to put as much stories out there, finish old storylines, do as much as fucking possible right now, just to get back to the roots. I got a second baby coming, and believe me, I need the support now more than ever. You can believe what you want to believe. There's a lot of fake bullshit information out there about me. Karina's like a very private person, would never put our fights out there for people to see. And it's like, I don't know, we're both just like it's whatever, you know? Gotten some death threats and stuff, and we got the IPs reported with all the shit. So, like, whatever. We're leaving here tomorrow because we just are like, we were going on a trip anyway, but we're just getting the fuck out of here. And all our stuff's going to get packed up while we're gone. And that's it. And we're going to a place, nobody's going to know where we live, and that's it. Going to have a much more private life. One thing I do want to say, though, and I legitimately feel bad, like, there's people like Patricia Emery, Ben Daves, people that have been supporting me for a long time that have seemed to turn the tide a little bit recently, not over what has happened in my personal life, more that I'm just not providing the content that you pay for. That's a valid argument. And all the other stuff, it's really, 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 really complicated to juggle all this stuff. Addiction, mental health, relationship stuff, pregnancy, mother dying. Like, there's just so much shit going on. Not to say that my problems are any worse than your problems. They're not. I'm just saying, when you're like putting it all out there for everybody to critique, it's very difficult sometimes. And I just want to say, like, I genuinely am sorry for the lack of content and for muddling the waters with, like, my personal life. There's no, like, oh, feel sorry for me, I'm a victim here. There's none of that. This stuff is things that I brought on myself. I get that. Karina, though, is a blameless victim. She didn't do anything. Like, I can say that. So it's like, especially people like the two that I just mentioned that have, like, bought my kids gifts for their baby registry and, like, have been, like, avid supporters of mine. It makes me very mad at myself, not at you. Like, I get disappointment, I get anger, I feel all of these things for myself. I just want you to know that I'm sorry. There's no hard feelings. The best thing that I can do right now is just to put as much effort as possible into rebounding on my platform, putting as much story content out there as possible, because I know that's what people want, and just try to make up for all the bullshit that's happened over the last month or two. That's the best that I can do. I think that's pretty good. I mean, because it got to a point where, like, I wasn't on my side anymore. I was like, hey, fuck that fool. It's like hanging out with other people, talking shit about myself. Oh, wait, what am I doing? Fuck. I actually kind of love that guy. No. I am sorry, guys. Really. I don't mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Let's get on, though. Let's get into the story. This is a good story. This is a standalone story. This is for the $10 tier. It's going to be a psychedelic story. And yes, I will come and I am going to fix every goddamn loose end that I have. I promise. That's one thing I can promise you. This month, I'm going to go through, figure out what storylines, like, I haven't finished, where I need to go. And I'm just going to finish everything and get back to normal. And hopefully I'll, like, prove to myself that I'm not just saying these things, that I'm actually doing them. And that's where we're going. Oh, what the fuck? It's like pure like motor oil. And that is motor oil. I'm gonna just keep drinking it. Okay, so this story takes place when I was 22 years old. Now, before we get to 22, I need to explain this. As you know, in junior high, I went to a private Catholic school just for 3 years because my parents got rich. We were poor before that. Not poor, but they didn't have the means to send me to private schools, that's for sure. And out of nowhere, they got a bunch of money. My dad's company like really took off and they put me into this like school with other rich kids. Now, I was used to being around like probably like the lower middle class. So it's not like we ever had like a poor existence, but I was used to just like normal people, not like the preppy, well-to-do kids that were at this private junior high. A lot of their parents were lawyers. A lot of them were doctors. Some in the entertainment industry, a couple producers here and there. Rob Lowe, his kids went there. If you know the snowboard company Burton, his kids went to this school. And, you know, it's just a lot of kids with a lot of money, you know, kids that would vacation in like Bali and everybody's parents were leasing luxury cars. It's just that kind of thing. It was eye-opening for me because I hadn't been around wealth like that before, and it was just like a completely different class of people. And I brought like all of my like shitty lower middle class like habits with me, skateboarding, hip hop, things that they like. The kids were like, oh, this is kind of dangerous. I fucking like this. And they started doing it with me. Now, one of the kids that went to junior, and it didn't take that long, but I became a very well-liked person at this school. You know, it's probably one of the only times in my life that I had like a group of legitimate friends and people that I knew really liked me, wanted my best interests at heart. It kind of pains me to look back on those years now, honestly, because I didn't realize like how happy I truly was until probably recently. And like I had to like actually like look back at my life and be like, oh, I was happy then? Oh, that's not sad. I'm sad right now. What are you doing? No, that I'm sad. But yeah, it was like a period of my life that was like actually pretty good. Now back then, there was one kid that went to our school that was not rich. It was the one kid in the entire class that didn't have any money. He was Mexican. He was like a poor Mexican guy. God, it sounds horrible, but it's true. He was poor and he was Mexican. And I felt horrible for I know, you know what? Actually, at the time, I didn't feel horrible for him. I think that's like years later, looking back, I did. But this was his situation. His parents didn't have any money. They were the kind of parents that drove a very modest car, you know, old ass car with like the bumper hanging off. Registration wasn't up to date. I don't know about that, but probably. You know how Mexicans are. No, I'm just kidding. But they were like the kind of parents that would not do anything nice for themselves. They put all of their money and resources into making sure that their children went to private school. Him and his older brother both went to this school. I think it was like $30,000 a head. So for each one of these kids, it was 30 G's just to put them in this private school. And God, do I respect that about this family. Now that I have kids of my own, looking back on it, I have a great deal of respect for this family for sacrificing having comforts in life so that their children could have a chance at a better life than they had. It's really something admirable. And he was a good guy. He was my friend, you know. He was a good friend of mine in junior high. And, you know, at that age, you don't look at things socioeconomically like that. You're not like, oh, that Mexican family is different than us. Let's not invite them. They probably can't pay their own way, you know. Kids certainly don't think that way. Maybe adults do. I don't know. I don't think my parents were like that. My parents were like kind of like leftover hippie, like liberal as fuck, you know, and, you know, they'd always like preached equality and, oh, you shouldn't be racist, but then they'd say crazy racist shit to me, and I'd be like, well, okay, I'm not confused. Who cares? So this guy was a good friend of mine, right? When we graduated 8th grade, like I slept over at this guy's house all the time. That's weird. You guys are like 14. What's going on there? No, you know, you do shit like that when you're 14. When we did 8th grade graduation, that was the last time I talked to him, you know? And it's kind of sad, really, like, looking back on this stuff, because what had happened is I go on to high school, right away I get into drugs, and out of all the kids that I went to junior high with, you know, it's probably like 60 people I can think of. I'm probably the only person that really, really suffered from addiction, at least that I know of. I'm sure other people have had alcohol or substance abuse issues, but I'm the one that was the most flagrant, and like, you know, I like got weird. I like started wearing mascara to school. I was like, yeah, I listen to trance now. And someone's like, oh my God, have you seen Ryan Leone? I heard he wears mascara and listens to electric music. I think he's gonna join a cult and kill some famous people up in the Hollywood Hills. Let's not chill with him anymore. He's a drug addict. You know, it's like that kind of thing. And very quickly it spread with my old group of friends from junior high that I become a drug addict, you know? And I didn't know it at the time. I didn't realize what was going on, because in my mind, I'm hanging out with older kids. All of my friends were older. They're all like seniors and shit. I was a freshman. So I was like Mr. Cool. I'd wear like Fonzie fucking outfits. I'd like have like my like collar propped on my leather jacket, and I'd be like combing my hair. I like wouldn't even look at my old junior high friends. I'd be like, you guys are freshmen. Fuck you. I'm like, aren't you a freshman? Shut up. Are you wearing mascara? Shut up. Cool. And so maybe a lot of it was that, you know, that I had kind of like been absorbed by this like older group of people, party people who are all of them, every single one of them turned out to be losers. None of them did anything cool with their life at all. Most of them are miserable fucks. I see him once in a while. I'm like, yeah, what do you do? He's like, oh, nothing yet. And I'm like, what do you mean nothing yet? You don't have a job? Or no, not yet. What does not yet mean, dude? You're 38. Oh, I gotta go, man. And it's like that, those kind of people. So, you know, I'd see, look, what are we going to call this guy? I got to give him a fake name. Johnny. Let's call him Johnny, right? That's very close to his real name. Now, Johnny, I saw him when I was in high school, right? But when I got into high school, I got weird. I'm not even joking about the mascara. I'm being serious. Because I like heard that girls like long eyelashes. And I was like, wait a second, what if I wear mascara? Then they'll think I have long eyelashes. Then bitches will want me. Then I'll get pussy. Because I was a misogynistic piece of shit scumbag back then, and I objectified women. I did. Definitely one of my big regrets from that time in my life. If I die tomorrow and like I'd want one thing for my kids, for my sons, I want them to treat women better. That's like the one thing that I'd want. I don't think that's that much to ask for. Jesus, I could ask for so much more. It's just that. It's like, you can't do that. Jesus. Come on, Nico. So, yeah, I really did wear mascara. It was weird. But, you know, I'd see this guy, Johnny. Now, by this point, some of these guys that went to this private junior high, a lot of them went to my high school. And they were all into sports. They did like the normal shit that like high school people did. They wore like Letterman jackets. And they were the preps. I was like, those guys are losers. Look at the kind of hot chicks they hang out with. They'd like drive Corvettes and hang out with really hot girls. Let's get in your mom's minivan and let's just be with a bunch of guys and let's go start fist fights and talk about girls that we want that we can't have. And like, those were my friends. And so I'd see these guys occasionally. And it got to a point where they didn't like even acknowledge that I was like a person. Like, I mean, they knew that I was like a human, I think, because they'd like get out of the way so we wouldn't bump into each other in the hallways. But it was never like, hey, Ryan, how you doing? Oh, man, pretty bad. You know, I'm 16 years old and I'm strung out on cocaine. Fuck, life seems so gloomy and hopeless. I feel like ending it. Oh, well, that sucks, Ryan. I gotta go, man. Nice talking to you. It was nothing like that. You know, they never talked to me. They never asked me how I was doing. And I don't know if I got too cool for school and I drifted away from them. And I think looking back, I had this identity crisis where I took on the role of like a druggie. And so I would like over-exaggerate. I would over-exaggerate my drug use. I'd like walk around like this. And I'd be like stoned. Hey. No, I'm not on nothing. Are you? Do you want to be on something? I'd like change my eyes. Just to like try to get like fancy with whoever I was talking to. I think I may have scared a lot of the people off. Whatever the case was, Johnny didn't talk to me anymore. And then I started getting sent away. And then I got really bad. Like by the time I was like a junior, I was like doing heroin and shit. These guys had like restraining orders on me. They're like signed on tennis balls. And I was like, hey, what's up with this tennis ball restraining order? Just sign it, Ryan. I'm like, all right. And you know, I gotta be honest with you. I gotta be honest with you guys. This shit hurt my fucking feelings. It did. This hurt my feelings. Like, so much of my life has been about making mistakes. Like, these were my mistakes. Like, I shouldn't have gotten into drugs. I mean, God, what a stupid mistake I made. Girls, drugs, fun, compared to girls, no drugs, better girls, no drugs, and going to Ivy League colleges. Those guys are lame. I chose that path. And then I'd get really sad that these other people turned their back on me. I really would. You know, I would think about it and I guess it just hurt my feelings. But see, as an addict, and I didn't learn this until later on in life. Like later on in life, I learned that when you are addicted to drugs, looking for my cigarettes and I don't know what I did with them. Later on in life, I learned that when you get addicted to drugs, you use some of this stuff. Fuck, man. How did I put my... Oh, there they are. There they are. Alright, I found them. Really need a cigarette. I learned that you use stuff like that, like when your feelings are hurt. You use that to keep your addiction going. Now, at that age, I didn't know that. You know, at that age, I was just like, I hurt. I'm going to start a fist fight. Fuck it. And I'd like go up to someone and just punch him. Like, hey, what was that for? I'm like, fucking just like take out like a mascara pen and start like applying it. But anyway, so I didn't realize that these people had hurt me, you know, but they did. And I think it was a big part of like why the continued like downward spiral occurred. I think that I just I kept falling further and further and further down this rabbit hole because I was just so hurt and I was like running from everything and like I hated how the whole world had turned their back on me, but there were periods where I just had to acknowledge the fact that I turned my back on the world. I think there's a quote that says that. So, and what happened after that? After this period, I ended up, I got sent away a couple times, got into, the really bad drugs. And then I got sent or I went to that writing school in Worcester. All of that stuff happened. I end up coming back, and where this story takes place, I'm 22 years old. I'm 22 years old. And this is what happened. So now, by this point, I'm living with Jenny, and we're living at that house. And these guys that I'd gone to junior high that hurt my feelings, you guys are like, God, Leonie's just such a bitch. Oh, the preppy guys hurt your feelings? Good excuse to use drugs, Ryan. Fucking this guy. Jesus, just man up, man. Who cares about these preppy guys? It's, yeah. It's easy to say. I'm just saying. These were like my friends growing up, and they turned their back on me. It hurt my feelings. Fuck, I'm human. To say sorry, my landlord's like over there with like his nephew. It's like 10 and just yelled the F word. So what ends up happening is when I'm 22, I no longer have the peaks and valleys of being a heroin addict, right? See, that's a big thing about being a junkie is it's horrible. It is horrible to have a monkey on your back and to wake up the next morning and to have to figure out money that you have to hustle up just to get $60 so you can get a gram of black tar, gooey black tar that's been in some Paisa's asshole, just so you can feel better. And then you sit on a raft somewhere, at least that's how you feel. Figuratively, you lay on some raft on some fluttering river, and you think about all the preps that broke your heart in junior high. Like, fuck those fools, I'm high now, who cares? It's a really horrible existence to be committing crime, to be having to hustle stuff up to make money, and just to keep this habit going where most of the time you don't get high, you just feel normal. You're chasing this because you just want to feel normal. And those peaks and valleys, it's what makes instability, right? That's what makes it where your life is completely unmanageable. And you can't be around anybody, because you're like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Well, by 22 years old, I really was making a lot of money. By that point, I was working for Spike TV. The Twomp Productions thing was in full effect. I was selling Molly. I was selling heroin. I was probably making, I don't know, $6-7 a week. And I was living in that house in Milpas that you guys have seen footage of. It's in the documentary. It's also in raw footage that I put up on Patreon. And you know that although it was a disgusting house, there's like shit in the toilets. Jeff and I look like complete junkie trash. Incredibly, even though we were living like pigs, there was this very false sense of stability because I didn't run out of dope. I just had what seemed like an endless supply of heroin to shoot every day. And so what ends up happening is my life starts to present this very fake illusion, this false illusion, that I'm stable. I'm not fucking stable. I just don't run out of dope. And when I have that like false stability, I love my parents, so I start hanging out with them all the time. I go over and hang out at their house. I wear like nice preppy clothes because I want my parents to be happy. They don't like when I dress like a dirtbag. So I'd wear like reasonably nice clothes. My dad's a UCLA grad. huge Bruins fan, so I'd always wear like UCLA stuff. And I ended up going to Trader Joe's to get my mom, I don't know, I think she needed something for dinner. I don't even remember, but it was like something like that. This is when I was 22 years old. It was a long time ago. But I end up going to the grocery store to get her something, and I'm at Trader Joe's, and I run into Johnny. Now, Johnny hadn't talked to me since I was 14. He's the guy that his parents were, like, he was very poor growing up, and his parents had put him in junior high just so that him and his brother could have a chance at the good life that they never had. But then as soon as I got into drugs, he's like, fuck you. You have a bad life. I'm not going to be friends with you. And I was like, and he just never talked to me. He sees me at Trader Joe's. And he's like, Ryan? Now I see him. I'm wearing prep. So that particular day, I'm wearing a UCLA jersey. Wearing like a baby blue UCLA jersey. I'm wearing khaki. I can remember what I'm wearing that day. I'm wearing khaki pants. And I'm wearing like matching baby blue DVSs or something. Like something like that. Some baby blue skate shoes. I'm pretty sure they were DVSs. Might have been Lakai's. And I look at him, and it took me a minute to register who he was. Now, of course, you guys know that I'm high as fuck on heroin. But he doesn't know that. He just sees this guy that looks relatively stable. You know, by this point, the acne's subsided because I don't have like dope like pouring out of me because it just stays in me at all times. And I was like, Johnny, how you doing? He's like, oh my God, Ryan, it's been ages. And like instantly I jump into character. I was like, I'm a pro surfer. He's like, huh? I was like, oh wait, you're not a girl. Yeah. Well, yeah. Ages it has. How are you? And we start like talking like prep shit, right? And he's asking me what I do for a living. Now, I could have been honest and I could have said, I'm a drug dealer. But I told him, which was partly true, that I was a media broker for Spike TV. Yeah, you know, kind of like a producer. Phenomenal. And I'm just looking at this guy. I'm like, Jesus, what the fuck happened to you? This guy went to Princeton, got passed around and butt fucked at a fraternity house or something. He's like, you know, I've heard the rumors that you got into narcotics. I was like, narcotics? I was like, man, you're talking about shit that happened in 2003, man. It's 2007, Johnny. I'm over that shit. He's like, oh, thank heavens, you know, whatever the fuck he was saying. Did he really talk like that? Kind of, you know, like, it was pretty ridiculous. But he was like, because I was wearing the UCLA jersey, he's like, listen, I'm married. I am now a neurobrain surgeon. I've got a press box at the Rose Bowl. And I've got 2 extra tickets. If you'd like to come and bring along a special someone. I was like, yeah, I got a girlfriend. He's like, excellent. He's like, here's my phone number, you know, call me and we'll do it. Now, I don't remember how long after that this game was supposed to be, but it was like, probably like a month. It was like a decent amount of time, you know, it was like a month or something like that. And so we had exchanged numbers. And I went home and I told Jenny about it. I was like, hey, I ran into one of the preppy guys. She's like, oh my God, was it one of the preppy guys that broke your heart? I was like, yeah. She's like, oh my God, that's so cool. Did he accept you back because you're a media producer now? And I was like, yeah. I knew that if I got successful, these guys would take me back. She's like, oh my God, I'm so happy. Because, I mean, this is shit that I probably bitched to her about, right? So I'm all excited to go to this UCLA football game with him, right? And, you know, my dad had taken me to a ton of UCLA football games throughout the years, but you know, and he had good tickets. He used to, what's that guy? Chris Penn. If you remember the actor Chris Penn, he was in True Romance, Sean Penn's brother. He used to actually sit like right next to us. He had like season tickets at the Rose Bowl, and like we used to sit right next to him. And I remember he was an actor, and I remember like being a little kid and like thinking that was like the coolest shit ever. But I was all excited to go to this game. So month leads up to it. Or whatever it was, something like that. But I remember, for whatever reason, Jenny couldn't go. And I was supposed to go with her, and, she would have gotten all dolled up or whatever. Whenever I have a girlfriend and I want to make a good impression, all the women I've ever dated are the kind of women that will, like, go out of their way to try to, like, help me make a good impression on someone. And she was no different. And so I was, like, really bummed that she couldn't go because, like, she understood the situation. Like, what am I going to bring? Like, one of my crackhead friends where they're like, yeah, I started with 8 bindles last month. Now I'm up to 18. I'm really starting to make real money. Diversifying my portfolio, whatever the fuck you rich fucks say. Johnny would have been petrified of like my crack dealer friends or whatever, So I was in kind of a bind because there were 2 tickets. I wanted to hang out with them. I think that I was still at the age where like I legitimately wanted to kind of make amends or like maybe like get accepted by this group of people again. Like in my mind, I had this delusion that now I was doing better. I'm doing great. Of course they're going to love me. Doing great. I'm shooting like 6 grams of heroin a day. I'm smoking crack all the time. I'm a drug dealer. I don't think they'd be cool with the fact that I have kilos of drugs at my house. But in my mind, I was like, yeah, I'm awesome now. Who wouldn't like me? So I had this one friend that one of the biggest dirtbags I've ever met in my life. So this guy is classic. He comes back later in life. He's the guy that maybe he doesn't. Okay, so I have this friend that I don't know if I've told this story before, but it doesn't matter. I don't want to go off on some side story right now, but I have this friend that's like, he's divorced now. I don't know if he had kids back then. He's got like 4 kids. He's a really good dad, right? But he is just the biggest scumbag junkie like I know. But he's one of those guys that's just amazing at acting like he's not, right? He's no tattoos, super preppy. He went to college at USC. No. Cal Poly. He went to Cal Poly. And he's just like really into like college, like he's like school spirit kind of guy that like wears face paint, goes to football games. Very preppy. Very good at talking to people. He's the kind of guy that you want to drive when you're going to score drugs or something. Because, like, if you ever get pulled over with someone like this, he's just like, oh, hey. Yeah, I'm Kyle. Nice to meet you, officer. Oh, we're not allowed to shake hands? My bad. I thought we were buds. And they, like, start laughing. Before you know it, they're, like, exchanging numbers. Yeah, so we'll do that cop versus civilian softball game you were talking about. Huh, Hank? Huh? And you're just like, huh? Like, he's, like, one of those kind of guys, right? So I call him. Let's call him Kyle. Very close to his real name too. There's another story later that he's in, but I don't want to kill it because it's in that origin series that we're doing right now, and I don't think I've even brought him into it yet. He's about to come into it. We're about to return to that series, and he comes into it. But Kyle's this guy is just such a fucking dirtbag. Like he's addicted to crack. Right? Like horribly addicted. He smokes crack all day, every day, and like drives a minivan around. It's like 4 kids in it. They have no idea how bad this dude is. He is out of his mind on drugs. He's divorced because his wife knows that he's a drug addict. He's so bad. Let's put it this way. It's so bad that it would be impossible for people to tell that he's a drug addict unless you lived with him. But if you live with him, it's impossible not to know. Shit. All right. So anyway, sorry, that was a very important text message. So I call him and I'm like, hey man, do you want to go to this football game? I got press passes. And it's like he doesn't even talk to drug addicts like they're drug addicts. He's like, oh, hey bud. Yeah, just at my house, scraping some Brillo. Gotta get some new Brillo, bud. How you doing? It's like total used car salesman vibe from this guy. And I explain the situation. It's like, press box? That sounds amazing. Yeah. For sure I'll go. Cool. Let me call the ex. Let me kind of, see if my schedule permits. And I'll get back to you. I'm like, what do you want to, call it 2 hours? I'll get back to you and let you know if I can do it. Oh, right on, man. All right, cool. So of course he's all set to go with me. So I feel better because I think he sells life insurance. I think that's what he does for a living. Or maybe it's car insurance. I don't know. But he's the kind of guy that has to hang out with normal people all day. He's in the workforce and he's really good at acting normal. Plus he's a college graduate. This is the only college graduate I know. He's just really good at deceiving people. So I remember the night before, Jenny wasn't in town. I don't know why, but I remember I was home alone the night before and I was smoking a ton of crack and this dude Kyle comes over and he's spending the night and I was alone for a few hours. Then he comes by and we smoke crack all night. We take some Xanax, we pass out. Next day, Johnny's supposed to pick us up. Now Johnny's going to be with his wife. We're all riding in the same car together and we're going to head down to the Rose Bowl. Now the Rose Bowl is in Pasadena. It's probably an hour and a half away from 2 hours away from Santa Barbara. So anyway, I don't want Johnny to know where we live because I've told him I'm the successful producer for Spike TV now and I live in this nice house, but I secretly live in a trap house. The last thing I want is for him to show up at my place and be like, yeah, let me get a tour of the house. So we have him pick us up by the beach because it was only a couple blocks from the beach. We're like, yeah, just pick us up at the beach. That's where we're going to be. I'm going to be with my friend. We're going to get some bagels, whatever. Kyle and I smoke a bunch of crack that morning, right? We smoked a bunch of crack. He's shooting heroin with me. Even that, he's dozen places that people can't see. It's all on his legs. His arms are track free, but he shoots heroin. He smokes crack. So we end up going to the beach and they come to pick us up. Now, I never met Johnny's wife, so I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know if she was going to be as pretentious as him or if she's going to be some trophy wife that's kind of a bimbo or whatever. So they come to get us and they're in I think they're in a Lincoln Navigator, something like that. Some sort of big ass SUV. To pick us up, he's wearing a UCLA hat. He's got these aviators on. He's like, Ryan, and Kyle, he's Johnny, you know, like acting like he knows him. And like instantly there's this weird like upper class camaraderie between them. It was weird. Like they like Kyle goes up and like hugs him. I was just smoking crack with Kyle. It was amazing. I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy is he's just such a scumbag. To this day, this guy, honestly, this guy today, Kyle, I was just talking about him with somebody last night on the phone, and unfortunately, he's doing really bad right now. He's doing real bad. Like, he's got like all these like crazy infections in his arms, and like he'd always been able to be a good dad, and that shit he can't anymore. You know, it's like you can't juggle addiction with parenthood long term. Everybody knows that. But yeah, unfortunately he's not doing too well. So but back then it was all fun and games. I don't even think he had kids back then. Yet. Maybe though. I don't know. But anyway, they instantly like become buddies, and so I see the wife, and she's got like a sweater tied around her neck, like shit like you'd see in a movie, like just like they're like these like complete jet setting like rich fucks. Now he'd become a neurosurgeon. He's making like $450K a year or something. You know, at the time at Spike TV, I was making probably like $3,000 a week, something like that. So, you know, I was making low six figures, but this guy's making like mid six figures. I mean, he's making like really good money. We get in the car, right? Like right away, Kyle and Johnny are just, they're buddies. Oh, where'd you go to school, Kyle? I went to Cal Poly. What about you, Princeton? Oh, we got a print, you know, whatever. They're like saying like the name of their mascots and shit. It was really weird. The wife like starts talking to me for a little bit, and she's like, so Johnny tells me that you used to be into drugs. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I think that's really, really admirable that you stopped. And she stopped talking to me. It's like some fake compliment that you could tell she only told me because she was grossed out. Now, Kyle's wearing like some like, he's like wearing like some fucking, I don't know, cargo, like khaki cargo fucking pants with like pockets on it. And he's wearing like a UCLA like long sleeve. I'm wearing a UCLA jersey, but I'm wearing board shorts. Now these board shorts only have this little pocket on them. It's like this big. I had like a cell phone, a wallet, a pack of cigarettes, and a lighter on me. And, sorry, I'm getting bombarded with texts right now. So I didn't have like a lot of like pocket room. And as we're driving, so we get on the freeway. Johnny's wife, like, really honestly only had like that one exchange with me. Like, it was like, you used to be a drug addict? That's admirable. And then she's like looking out the window, probably thinking about, oh my God, I bet he's getting drug addiction diseases on that seat. I hope he doesn't fart. Ugh. It's what it seemed like. Who knows what she was thinking. But Kyle and him were like, you know, they'd be talking, and then they like started talking about like jazz and shit. Johnny's like, you like jazz too? Jesus Christ, I love this. Ryan, I love this guy. Kyle, love you. I love you. Hey, we're gonna go sailboating, all of that shit. Yeah, I got a little sailboat off the coast of Catalina. Yeah, we're gonna do that shit together. And I'm just like, you never invited me sailing. What the fuck, dude? I don't know. It's just like some weird rich people shit. So he turns on some jazz because him and Kyle started talking about that shit. And then, like, now Kyle, like, kind of like, he whispers to me and he's like, hey, do you want to take a hit of acid? I look at him, I was like, oh, there's a human being inside of there? Jesus, I thought you'd sold your soul for the Princeton dude. Jesus Christ. Yes, I'll take a hit of acid. God, fucking weirdo. All right, that's what I thought. Here. And he's like moving his head to the jazz, and like Johnny's like, it's great, isn't it? He's like snapping. Like, well, Kyle's like pretending like he's all into the jazz with Johnny out of his little cargo pant pocket. He had like these khaki cargo pants on. He opens up his cargos and he takes out like a, I don't know, cigarette cellophane, you know, like it'd be like that, but it has the acid, it has a hit of acid, a couple hits of blotter. And he takes one out, puts it in his mouth, and he gives me one. Puts it in my mouth, and he's like still like all into the jazz, like literally acting like he didn't just ingest LSD with me. And we take it, and I'm in my mind, of course, I'm thinking that this is like, I'm like, all right, well, this is like already off to like a fucking awkward, weird start. At least the acid might make this shit better, you know? And that was pretty much like how we took it and how that trip started, right? Rest of the car ride is mostly music, you know? Some conversations. I will say this. Between the music and them talking about like, you know, like mutual funds and whatever else, like, you know, centrist politics, whatever else weird shit they were talking about, they weren't including me. I was like completely excluded from the conversation. And honestly, it was hurtful. You know, it was like the kind of thing where I felt the way that I felt when I went to high school. And the group of preppy kids kind of just like turned their back on me. I felt that all over again. Like, I didn't go to college. I didn't have that. You know, I didn't have like, I don't even know what a mutual fund was. I still don't know what a mutual fund is. I'm going to like text Kyle and I'm like, what's a mutual fund? He's going to be like, my arms have gangrene. I'm like, yeah, I heard that. Someone else told me that. Yeah, I heard he's like really bad now, which sucks. Hopefully he can get his shit together because he is a good dude. So we end up getting down to UCLA. Now, when you go down to these games, there's like this huge lawn area. Like it's chaotic. It's like a zoo. We took the acid pretty close to when I may have like done the timing off a little bit. I think by the time we took the acid, it was probably like about an hour into the car ride. And it's like a 2-hour car ride. It sounds about right. You know, it might have not been like right in the beginning of the car ride, but we took it I know we took it in the car, and I know we took it before we got down there. Anyway, so when you get to these Rose Bowl games, you have all of these cars parked out in front of the game. There's like, you know, these big, expansive green golf courses. And that's used when football games aren't happening. It's like a private golf course. And then when there's games, they just hire like people to direct all the cars and the traffic and like tell people where to park. So because Johnny had like these press box passes or whatever, who knows how somebody like that even got those? I think maybe you can just pay a lot of money for them. Whatever the case was, like, you know, we're watching all these cars like waiting to get in line, but because of like his press box credentials, we like got to like skip the line. Like one of like the attendants like came and like opened up, like had like, there was like this little chain, and he like unfastened it and opened it, and we just like got out of this huge line of cars and like went past everybody. Everyone's like, hey! Johnny's listening to jazz. He's like, yeah, so it's like, look at all these peasants. Like him and Kyle are laughing. I'm like, hey, I'm a peasant. What the fuck? Kyle's like, shh. You feel the acid? I was like, no. But I remember by the time we had gotten there, enough time had passed where we should be tripping by this point, but we weren't. And I remember being disappointed by that because, like, I desperately, like, it was like one of those things that reminded me of, like, why I don't like to be in my own head. It was like definitely like a reminder of, like, how badly I had fucked up my life, It's like I couldn't even have a conversation with these two people. I felt like I was in a different country or something. It was like, fuck. Just felt so, like, alienated. So anyway, so we end up parking and we walk out of the car. This is the first time that I've seen Johnny's wife, like her body and everything. I'd only seen her in the passenger seat. Now I remember being happy when I saw her body because she was not all that, She looked about 30 years older than she was. I was like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? It's a straight up East Coast body. What's going on there? That's how I looked at women back then. I'm sorry, I'm a piece of shit. But anyway, I remember I was like, what the fuck? And then I looked at him and he just looked ridiculous next to her. Like, this guy has never been a big guy. He's always been kind of like a tall, scrawny kid. And he kind of grew up into a small, scrawny man. And she just kind of looked like she could beat the fuck out of him. I'm like, Jesus. I don't even want to know what their sex looks like, but it's probably super fucking gross. And she looks at me, she's like, hey. She had this sweater tied. She looked ridiculous. I was like, you look like you should be at a fucking football game. This is where, like, tailgate parties go down. Like, this is, like, way too, like, low class for these people. So we're like walking through the grass and, like, Kyle keeps looking at me. He's like, hey, man, do you feel the LSD? And I was like, no. I was like, do you? He's like, nope. Gotta stop buying shit from fucking Dave, man. And I was like, okay, I don't even know who that is, but yeah, stop buying stuff from Dave. He sounds like a piece of shit. This is fake acid. So I'm all bummed. I was like expecting that, like, at the very fucking least, that I was going to be able to trip. Now, at that point in my life, tripping wasn't something that was like it was something I was doing quite a bit at that time. If you remember, this is like right around the time that I'd met Sass. I was doing acid pretty frequently at that point. It's not like it was just some random thing that I hadn't done for a long time. It was like I was used to it, and it didn't work. And in my experience, good acid comes on pretty quickly. Your body recognizes the substance. You start feeling, I always get this copper taste in my mouth. And then, like, you like kind of feel like this like tingling sensation kind of rising up within you. I didn't feel any of that. So we walk in, he has these like VIP passes on lanyards. He gives them to us. He has them. We walk up to the security. We like show our badges. We walk right in. I'm like, I remember like looking and I see like all of these like normal people. It's like different ethnicity backgrounds. There's like an Indian guy who has like a fucking feathered fucking headband on. And there's like some sort of like black pirate guy. And like all these different races like in line, and it's just they're all like covered in sweat. They're all waiting. They've been waiting there for like hours, and we just like waltz right in. Us with this like frumpy ass chick that has this sweater draped around her neck. So we end up getting in there, and we start going up to the press box. Now, to get to a press box, there's always going to be security, right? This is probably, I'd say it's the first time in my life that I've been to a press box. I've been to a few since then, but you like walk up to this entrance, and there's always going to be like these two security guys that look like Secret Service agents wearing suits, and they have like the little like cord going into their ear, and you show them their lanyard, and then these guys have like this little like See, nowadays people would just scan stuff with their cell phones, but back then they actually had like their own device to scan VIP tickets. So they had that. And so they scan our stuff and they let us in. Then we're led to this elevator. You go up this elevator, and then all of a sudden you're up in this press box area. Now there's a buffet there. There's all these, like, every woman there like has like a sweater draped around, like tied around her neck, like Johnny's wife did. And all these like weird rich people, you know, it's like definitely like not football fans. It's like, ew, icky football. That's like how these people were. And so we end up, they're like, let us show you to your box. And they bring us into one of these press box rooms. It was ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. It was air conditioned, and like you could see the like a panoramic of the entire field. It was fucking amazing. I was like, wow, this is cool, you know? And sitting down there, and Johnny's like, guys, I don't know if they told you, you know, when we first got into the entrance, but you can actually get anything you want from the buffet. Just go out. There's amazing finger foods out there. There's lobster. There's kale. You know, he's like talking about all these different things. And so Kyle's like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah. He looks at me, he's like, let's get some food. I was like, all right, cool. So we walk out. So now we're not with Johnny and his wife anymore. Like me and him just like kind of walk out alone. We're in this buffet, and I'm like looking at all these like people talking. You know, they had a full bar there where you could get mixed drinks. And I was about to get a drink. Kyle wanted food first, so like I get in line with him in the buffet, and I'm like telling him we should go get a drink. He's talking about getting the food, and all of a sudden I get the taste. I start tasting the copper. And that's always when I know that the acid is actually kicking in. And I'm like, I was like, hey man. And he looks at me, he's like test, you know, like tasting some caviar, like what caviar, whatever the fuck he's eating. He's like, yeah, what is it? I was like, I taste copper. It's like, huh? Don't be weird, Ryan. Not here. Not in front of my new friends. And I was like, shut up, Kyle. Just shut the fuck up. I said, I taste copper. I'm pretty sure that the LSD is kicking in. He's like, shh. And nobody could hear us. Everybody's talking. There's shit clattering everywhere. I'm like, do you feel anything? He's like, no, of course I don't. That shit's bullshit. So I continue in this buffet with him, but I know that it's coming on. I just like, I taste the copper, then I start feeling like the like weird tingles like kind of rise up from my stomach. And I know that we're about to be on an acid trip. Now, that's cool because this whole thing had been awkward from the get-go anyway. And I was fully welcoming LSD trip to come on. But it like came on at like a weird time. Like we had just got, like I wish it had come on before we had ever even gotten to the press area that we were in. So we go back into the press box. I have like this buffet stuff. I'd gotten mixed drink. And right when I sit into my chair, it's like a chair like this too. Like a swivel chair or whatever. But it's like super plush and comfortable. So I remember as soon as I sit, I like put my food up, put my mixed drink in. As soon as I sit in my chair, it just hits me like it was the weirdest acid ever. It took like 2 hours to kick in, but then like it just like came on. Some of the strongest like acid come on that I've ever experienced in my life. I was like, oh, I felt like I was melting into the chair. I was like, oh my God. I was like, Kyle, and he's looking at me. His eyes are huge, and I'm looking at him for the first time ever. And I'd never tripped with him either, by the way. I'd only done like hard drugs with him. For the first time ever, I saw him scared. Like he was usually like one of those guys that was like very confident. Like sometimes I'd smoke too much crack or something around him. And sometimes when I get too high on cocaine, I think I'm having a heart attack. I'm like, oh, check my heart rate. Hey, come here. Come here. Do you feel it? I don't feel anything. Oh, that must mean I'm already dead. Fuck. And I like pass out. He's like, dude, are you alright? Are you just acting that way because you want attention, or did you really pass out? I'm like, oh my God, I'm still alive. All right. No, I don't know. I just thought you didn't feel a heart rate. I was dead, you know? I'm like one of those kind of guys. He's like always one of those people that like talks me into not being a weirdo and not flailing. But this particular time, I'm like, I remember I was like sinking into the chair and I'm looking at him and he just has this look of absolute terror on his face. Like he's terrified. He's like, I could just tell he was having a bad trip. And we will get into what happens with these rich people in this press box at this football game in the next installment of this psychedelic series. I'm going to clean up all the rest of my series, fill all the loose ends up. I just wanted to like set this one up properly because there's like background stuff that's important that I just feel like you should know going in so you can fully appreciate this trip, because it's a pretty interesting one. Kind of a bad trip, kind of like one of the few bad trips that I've had on acid, especially like with this guy Johnny and his wife. It is a weird ass situation, but we'll get into that in the next installment of this series, Palabra.